World, hello, chess players. I'm More Gravity. Let's play chess. So this play will be a review of a game, a really raucous and wild, but awesome and quite accurate game. Played 3 minutes per side, and I thought there were a lot of great things about this game. I wanted to review it for that reason. So we're all in book moves early here. D6 is not bad. There's nothing wrong with D6, and then knight C3 and E5. I'm gonna agree with the proper checks there. So far, just an accurate game, both sides. All right, here, just an accurate game, both sides looking to claim territory in the center, and I move my knight to d5. Strong outpost for this knight, where he's strong with being protected by two pawns. But I would keep in mind though that I can be dismounted from that outpost by knight to f6 and then a follow up capture, or if white initiates capture, and there's always the opportunity, even saying that I could be dismounted, that I'd be dismounted by backpedaling, a retreat to the third rank. H5 here, strange, very strange, but I'm gonna go against the indication here. It depends on what black is doing and what is his follow up. I think with the correct plan, H4, H3, black can just sort of send this pawn down at white and see what shakes up. There's no point along that line where white has control over the next square. I mean, maybe at H the H2 square is covered, but that's not in play because of the way the pawn captures on a diagonal. I think, but I don't know if I don't think I saw that as a follow up to this. But I would like to see after H5 make the pawn storm matter. Oh, excuse me. The pawn storm didn't happen because I said no, 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 you don't. Oh no, you don't. My pawn to h4 as well. So we're stuck with these pawns butting heads at h5 and h4. So pawn storms become less likely, and the sides remain contested and looking for other ways to win. Bishop g4 is one such great way. What an awesome pin my opponent throws at me for putting my pawn on h4 especially. The only downside would be that white is going to play bishop to e2 anyway, considering the situation with white's pawns. So white's going to slip out of this pin and not at too much damage. But that's not the only thing about the pin. It's a aggressively positioned bishop was now supported because of the earlier h5. So this is a strong move, despite the ease with which white can wiggle out. Here's me wiggling out. There's no more pin on my f3 knight, and goodness gracious, thankful so, because if knight d4, I need this knight to dismount the black's central knight on the outpost of d4 and still have the advantage of better knights in the position. Better knight or better knights, yeah. Then f5, aggressive, right? Smashing through, totally challenging white. Is your center as strong as you think it is? No, so another grand move from my opponent. E takes f5. Best move, just by the way of it, how it is, best move. White is saying, I don't know how strong my center is, but I'm gonna blast you back to kingdom come with all these forces I have trained towards some kind of attack on the king's side here, and your king is weak on the h5 h8 diagonal. These squares are open, and the rook is a target. In some situations, the knight is a target. So I captured on f5. Plus, it's a pawn for a pawn. If my opponent takes the time, takes the tempo of initiative to capture on f5, and then the material be equal, but this bishop is not as aggressive, not as well placed um, as it is on g4, and that's to keep material even. Otherwise, I'll have the extra pawn, and I'm fine with that too. So I think my opponent made the correct move. Bishop takes f5 to keep the material level, but had to leave this awesome. He had to leave this awesome square of g4. Takes an initiative of a tempo of initiative or 2 to restore the awesomeness of this light squared bishop that black has on f5 right now. Knight g5, just a real good aggressive move. I'm noting that the knight is protected the requisite number of times against this. Not only that, but one of this, so to speak, one of this is going to might well disappear if I need it to. The knight's way aggressive. The f pawn is off the board, and the h pawn is at 5, so it can't influence to try to kick this knight. This is a long-term issue for black. I would expect bishop takes g5, and instead we got this mistake, knight to d4. I think it's a mistake for the reason that black is daring white to fork pieces on f7 or whatever kind of mayhem might befall black's king side and center, sort of d to h on this one. So I think knight to d4 is not well timed. And here it goes, some kind of miss. This 1.7 means that white is dominating space and development and mobility, king safety and other things. And the one part of that means white can probably win a pawn here. In fact, yeah, bishop to h5 check. And I don't think I saw that in the game, but that's definitely the best move. That is most definitely the best move. In fact, what did I play instead? I played g4, which is one of the worst moves available. So let's play instead with the correct move, by far the best move, bishop to h5 check. This has to be best, yeah. So now black's going to scramble to return. Okay, so rook takes h5, and then queen takes h5 check, and we've won a bit of material. Things are chaotic on the board. Black has this one idea of knight to c2 check. So white has to be wary of that. I think this just up a full piece, maybe. I don't know. It's still complicated. The hint is to go back to d1. We're up material in an this is otherwise the same chess position, with the queen guarding c2. Stockfish's suggestion and the hint, or whoever, not Stockfish, Torch4's suggestion, the hint to move queen to d1 is powerful, strong, good, all those things. And so we have this position now with white to move. I'm resisting the temptation to try to play knight f7, just hitting this one-off attack against the queen. She just moves out of the way, and all of a sudden the knight's under attack and isn't aiming at anything valuable. So we'd have to go back to g5 and stay there, wait. The turn we've lost some tempos of initiative. Black has this not all that good battery, but it's just, I don't think the position calls for knight to f7. But I'll tell you what else is, I'm ahead a full piece, and I might be interested in an exchange of pieces. My knight's on a dark square. My opponent has this dark squared bishop on e7. How about, even though he's on that strong outpost, taking away that dark squared bishop so that this knight remains the positional monster that he is. And now when with the recapture, I still have the move. I have initiative, and I'll play bishop to e3 and try to force back this knight, or otherwise exchange pieces and win in an endgame where I have the minor piece. All right, so yeah, here, sometimes you fall upon a bad plan as a result of things, but White's still doing fine, and this all goes back to the misplay that I played here. Not this is correct, right? G4 as I played it, incorrect, but all this analysis after that belongs to bishop to h5 check and its subsequent moves. All right. Where's this? G4. Pawn takes G4. Bishop takes G4. Now black is making some strong moves. G6 is a strong move here by black, controlling the bishop on f5 in a way that stymies a lot of many attacking moves by white. I believe I did find a good breakthrough with bishop takes f5, and then after pawn takes f5, we're going to see knight to e6. And like I said, this is not a sacrifice. It's a daring move, what's called a daring move. White will do well here with any move other than knight takes e6, where my opponent goes up a full piece. So it's a bit of a daring move. And you'll see where at this point it's the only I believe it's the only blunder by white in this game. Yes. So I will take a little bit of time to discuss why is this a move that both I and my opponent calculated through incorrectly. I calculated this through. I didn't notice that the knight at d4 was covering the square, frankly. That happens once in a while. There are moves that are more visually tricky for chess players. They're just, part of it's how many pieces were on the board. If it's kings and knights alone, maybe this is less likely to I'm less likely to drop a full piece on e6, right? It's the only knights there. But with probably about 15 to 20 other pieces on the board, it's a different story, different tattletale. It's a different story. So I got away with one, frankly, because after queen takes a5, and even if my opponent was maybe trying to sharpen the line to get more out of knight takes e6, doesn't work because of bishop to d2. Winning a tempo of initiative against the queen, she backs up, and then that became the story of the game. Became knight to c7 check, and we're winning massive amounts of material. Whether we capture the full rook or the queen, we're going to capture the queen. But that's that. So here, this is also a move where white has to play, as you see over here on the printout for Torch 4. White has to play one of these two saving moves, and that's also clear sometimes. And just by viewing it, we have to block with the queen, or we have to block with the bishop, and that's how that is. All right, so we block with the bishop. It's a little bit stronger because it eliminates trades on d2 as a theme, and then it's a bit stronger for white. The queen now, taken. This is where my opponent went. Taken. Gonna be recaptured. Taken. That pawn contributing in there importantly. and taken on a2 as well. So the only safe square immediately available to black is here on a6. But it only seems to be safe when queen to a6 is followed by knight to c7 check. And the queen's going to be lost. Just a little bit of, I don't want to say how to say this without sounding a little bit snooty, but the best knight to go on c7 is the one I chose. Why? Because all other things being equal, this knight's going to be captured soon. We want this strong outposted knight. So the reason why this is the knight to put there and not this knight, whoops, not this, not this knight, not yet, is because of the presence of the pawn on c4. Really, the pawn on c4 makes, and the fact that these pawns are past their ability to kick the d5 knight. So the little things like that, over time, your brain, your mind, more games you play, you'll pick up on those patterns. And right now what I'm trying to do is introduce you to what to look for in the first place. Okay, a strong outpost like this is something to look for in the first place. So I move the other knight to c7 check. King's got to move, queen's off the board, and soon enough we find that white's just going to overpower black. We wonder if maybe bishop takes e7 might have been better here for white. From a practical standpoint, we get this rook, and that's fantastic. But my opponent gets this bishop, and there's the temptation to capture back, would have been disaster, by way of rook takes h1, king to d2, rook takes a1. I've lost both my rooks. That's like losing a full queen, buddy, and I don't want to do that. So we're gonna finish this practice, and then finish this review. When I'm done, we're going to come back to move to white's 21st move and play something other than this greedy grab on a8. The knight, it's fine to win that material, but this needs to be understood by yours truly as well. So this is how we played out in the game, and my opponent is going to try some pretty much desperado attacks. I played king to d1 here. This relationship between attacking knight and king must be well understood. When it goes king on a diagonal, an empty square, and then knight on a diagonal like that. This will be very difficult for the knight to attack the king. It seems like they're really close, right? But with just one square in between diagonally, this actually turns out to be quite difficult to eventually lay a check on white's king. I did not do it optimally there, but this is one path. It's just how the pieces end up moving. Maybe knight to d2, knight to e4, and then knight to f2. 3 moves until the knight can lay check on a standstill king. And this is going to happen in this game, right? Because, for instance, the e4 square is covered by my pawn on d3. So yeah, I think I and a lot of chess players see this one move in between knight and king and just kind of like, well, let's do something else, and maybe if the pieces reshuffle themselves a number of moves, then maybe later the knight can issue an attack against white's king, or some idea kind of like that. Yeah, the main point is with one square in between these two pieces, this knight is not a worry for me. That's why I played to d1. Now it's very different with these other squares. Other squares, the knight has attacking potential. Say I went to f1. Well, there's 2 checks available. Say I went to e2, then here too there are two checks available. Not necessarily safe ones. The rooks can intervene, but they're there, and so take more time to calculate and understand whether or not other pieces can intervene or not. In some ways, king on e2 is good by way of connecting the rooks, and then we can capture on g5. But I'm not so worried about that. I have 8 extra points of material. My job is to not get my king checkmated. So, king to d1 it was, and I'd say that's probably best move. Things got a little bit crazy through here. I won't be going over every move, but most of White's moves are set to trade material of equal value, and sometimes, if the pawn happens to be on a desirable square, don't be afraid of capturing it. Queen to b7 was a heads-up move, attacking the knight who's protecting the otherwise unprotected bishop, and I think as a result, White's got to take away some of Black's last remaining pieces and let things settle. I'll give the check in here first. The queen is so very she's pretty safe there. Safe for this kind of long shot of a fork that could occur on e3 or even c3, but that this is miles away from occurring in the game. So pick up the bishop without worrying. All right, so now we have a lot of extra material, and we want to enforce checkmate before time expires. Now I said I was going to go back to, I think it was move 20. It was in the late teens or 20s. One of my moves was not quite as strong. It could be. It's right around here. Yeah. So I snagged this rook on a8. That's actually a worse move than it looks. Meiner Meinung nach. Here with White to move, so we're going to pop this out into practice, and this will be our last review or instruction portion of this lesson and review. I think White does better with bishop takes e7 first. Right, this is just worlds more easier to simplify, and the best move, knight takes e7, still doesn't save the rook on a8. This is way more simple. If the king has moved, oh no, okay. Kingside castle, queenside castles. Push that also casts some landmines or difficult areas for Black travel, either impassable or controlled or both. Black is compact here. Okay. So yeah, this that one mistake I sort of fixed on move 20 there, it wasn't considered a mistake, so it didn't change the uh, analysis all that much. That's fine. And that's it. That's it. I thought my opponent played a good game, an accurate game, in a mostly uh, wild board on a mostly wild board. Yeah, that's after F5. Really, the board is wild now. G4. This is look. We're just looking at this board. This is chaotic, wild, and interesting. So that's all, folks. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Have a great night.